Welcome to the Illogical Society, brought to you by Redacted Media and 6.5 Media. In today's episode, we count down the 100 greatest comedies according to the BBC. And now, here are your hosts, Kris Schulz and Chad Halvorsen.
And welcome to another episode of the Illogical Society, the countdown show, where we are counting down the top 101 comedies of all time according to the BBC.
I came here for 101 Dalmatians, sir.
That's our other podcast. So, before we get into all the podcasts that we do, I am one of your hosts. I am Kris Schulz. With me, as always, is Chad Halvorsen. Hello, Chad. How are you today?
I'm fantastic, Kris. Thanks for having me.
Great. And we are lucky enough to be welcoming back someone who joined us a few weeks ago. And maybe a few months from when the podcast came out, but a few weeks ago, Amy Lynch. Hello, Amy. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Sassy.
I'm good.
Yeah, we're sassy today.
I am excited. Today's film from 1936. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm sorry. It is number 36. Number 36 on the list. Wow, I am starting out great. From 1988, A Fish Called Wanda. Not a fish named Wanda, but a fish called Wanda. Directed by Charles Crichton. He was the main director. And then John Cleese also has a not listed name, but director credit as well for this film.
You can definitely tell this is a John Cleese film. And I didn't know this. I've never seen this film before. I had no idea he wrote it.
Okay, wow.
And you can definitely tell he wrote it. And it was really weird, considering there was only 2 out of 6 Monty Python alumnus in this film. But him and Palin were only in a few scenes together, which leads me to think that he was behind the scenes more for Palin's stuff. I don't know that for sure, but since they've worked together so much.
We'll get into that. There's a reason why. But Amy, I'll ask you, when was the last time you saw this film? Before, yesterday or whenever you saw it?
Probably 30 years ago. And I saw it on video. I didn't see it in the theater. I was a little too young, but my guess is, when it came out on video. So, 89, whenever, somewhere in there. So it's been a very long time since I had seen it.
I'm probably in the same boat as you are, Amy. It had been a while for me. I will say though, sometimes there's a performance by an actor that sticks with you, and you may not be able to track where that performance was, but that actor always has a place in your heart or your movie heart that it doesn't matter. You're excited to see the film with that actor. And for me, this film and Kevin Kline.
Yeah.
I after seeing this for after 30 years, Kevin Kline is an amazing performance in this film, an Oscar-winning performance for this film, which is amazing. But yeah, it's I'm seeing him and I'm remembering oh yeah, that's why I like Kevin Kline so much. Doesn't matter the film. So sorry, I'm just excited that I saw this film again because I saw his performance and why I liked him so much.
Yeah, I had no idea. I knew the ultimate twist at the ending with Cleese's character turn, but and I had only seen clips. I had no idea how involved Kline's performance was, nor did I know, before going into this that he won an Academy Award for it. You can tell.
Yeah. So Amy, I'll ask you first. Did this film hold up for you? Did you still find it funny?
I didn't find it as funny as I remembered.
Okay.
But it held up. It took me, it took a little while for me to get back into it. Because, the characters, they're just such horrible people. There was so many things to dislike about them all. And I love the cast, So that took a little getting used to. But by the end of it, I was like, back to, I knew I liked it. So having not seen it in so long, there were some things I forgot, but yeah, and you were talking about Kevin Kline. His performance is amazing. He's just hilarious, and yeah, so I enjoyed it. It's one I'm probably going to add to my collection, which is a rarity for me as far as comedies go, but it seems worth owning.
And I would imagine if you're a member of the Fish audience watching this film, it is a horror film.
Yes,
so
this is true.
it would qualify there for you. So it would be. Chad, what about you? This is the first time viewing it. So what were your thoughts going into it? What did you think when the end credits started?
Yeah, so I grew up a big Monty Python fan. I don't know if I ever mentioned this before. I had a reimbursement for financial aid my freshman year of college, just leftover money. And instead of putting that money in the bank and saving it up for a rainy day or when I would need more books or something, I decided to buy the Monty Python box set on DVD. Yeah. All the seasons, all the specials, behind the scenes stuff, whatever. So I'm already a Python fan and a Cleese fan, and I love Michael Palin too. Mm-hmm. This, knowing all that and having that background and never watching this film, going into it, you can definitely tell John Cleese wrote this film. It has the same beats as a lot of his old sketches, a lot of awkward moments. He used to write, his writing partner for most of the show was, it's the main, he's Chapman. Thank you. Graham Chapman was his writing partner because they knew each other from going to college together. So that felt a little weird because, I don't know, having Chapman's voice maybe would have made this different, and it could have been made for the worse, but it definitely had a footprint that I was familiar with. And by the end of it, I was completely satisfied. Yeah, everybody's bad in this movie, but it's a dark comedy.
Everybody.
There's not supposed to be likable characters here. And I think what shines, besides the whole A plot of that crazy, hey, where the hell are the diamonds plot, I feel like Michael Palin's B plot is so much more darker and sadder and funnier by the end of it. That it kind of take Wanda's story and the principal four that are just kind of dicking around on that A plot, but Michael Palin, I feel like that's just the cherry on top of this whole movie. Him trying to off this woman, and he's being goaded by Otto that he can't do it, and he eventually does it, even though he pretty much kills pieces of himself trying to do it each time. So yeah, by the end of the film, and how could I not even mention her, but Jamie Lee Curtis, holy shit. She was always a crush of mine growing up. And I've been,
this film didn't ruin it for you?
Yeah, right. I have recently been watching all the old Halloweens through, because I never seen all the sequels and stuff like that. So I got Laurie Strode very fresh in my mind. And this is actually, this is obviously a very different character than she played as a Scream Queen. But she's so confident and boisterous and just out there. It's the type of character that would get a John Cleese uptight, barrister to fall in love with her. So I thought it was a fun story. I really enjoyed it.
How many movies have either of you seen where the 4 main male actors all made out with the single female.
It's very rare.
Yeah.
Very rare.
I mean, she's a pro.
And so just a little background. I'll say my opinion. Like, I was looking forward to this. I mistakenly remembered, because it had been so long since I saw this, that it was basically a Monty Python film, but without Graham Chapman, who had passed away. Obviously, it's only the 2 people there. No Eric Idle, none of the other characters there either. Just the 2, as have been pointed out. So I made that mistake last episode. So I will edit that out so that I sound 100% correct. And also edit this out where I'm, correcting myself. But anyway, Charles Crichton, he was part of he was the director, and John Cleese gives him all credit. So Charles Crichton was a director that John Cleese had always wanted to work with. He was in his, I think, 80s or 90s when he directed this film. But he had been part of the group that, like in the 50s and 60s and maybe even 40s in Britain, they had directed like all the main comedies, the ones that had inspired John Cleese, among others. The film that we did with Alec Guinness, Chad, with the cornets.
Yes.
Kind Hearts and Cornets, I believe. That
Kind
was
Hearts and Cornets, yes.
Yeah, part of the group that Charles Crichton was part of. So John Cleese only signed up to do this film as a director just to appease the studio, which was afraid that an 80 to 90-year-old director may pass away in the middle of this film. So John Cleese said, okay, fine, you can put me down as co-director, but it's his film. Okay, so the one, I guess, uncomfortableness of this film, while played very well by Michael Palin, is the stutter.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's...
Now, his dad had a stutter, so that's what he kind of based his style on, was his dad. Could something like that work today?
I don't know. Normally I'm the one that's like super PC right away. I didn't find it
right
terribly offensive, because like he's not like all the other characters are mean to him, and mostly Otto is mean to him.
Yeah. He's
a bad person for making fun of the stutter. Having a character that has a stutter in a criminal group, I don't know. I that definitely added a layer of comedy to the whole thing. Plus, and I don't know. Now I feel like I'm defending Michael Palin. He's had that character, that stuttering character, in Python skits for years. So basically, he was just bringing out an old hit. Could it still be played today like that? Maybe, but it probably would definitely catch some flack for it. I was just like shocked that he wore fucking dreads and a Rasta hat and didn't do blackface. And this is 1988, where if it would have been blackface, we're like, well, 1988, but they didn't. I was shocked.
Yes, 83 blackface Dan Aykroyd, but 88 Michael Palin. No, that's too far. What do you think, Amy? Do you think even with somebody that like Michael Palin, who could point to his father having it and could point to the fact that he's played this character, do you think that this would work if this film were ever remade? Do you think the stutter could be there?
I don't think it would work. No. And Chad made a good point, though, that Otto is a horrible person. So him making fun of the stutter is, it's to be expected. And also the point he made about, they're a group of criminals. You don't usually have a stutterer among that group. But yeah, I don't think it would play. That was part of me taking me a little time to get into the movie was the cruelness of them to poor Michael Palin's character about the stutter.
I will say he did his research. I mean, obviously he knew his dad, probably, I'm guessing. But like some little nuances in the stutter. So like with animals, a lot of stutterers will have animals because they find they don't stutter with the animals. And obviously Michael Palin's character has a very strong, Ken has a very strong connection to any animal, which makes a lot of what he does so heart-wrenching for him.
Yes.
I will say that the idea of this film for John Cleese was all around somebody that has a stutter that has important information to give. And that's it. That is how A Fish Called Wanda started. So so we got we got my Kevin Kline love. We have Chad talking about Jamie Lee. Amy, any actors or performances? You can bring up the same ones if you want. That stood out for you?
Well, all of them, but Michael Palin especially. I found his character the funniest, and like his side plot of the off-field lady was hilarious, and all the things he has to do, and you know that it, like you said, it's heart-wrenching because he's killing animals. So
he shows up to their funeral
like wearing a placard
in a literal pet cemetery. Like it wasn't a people cemetery, it was a pet cemetery. Like he has the darkest freaking arc in the whole thing, but I feel like he has the best ending out of all of them.
Yes. I agree with that. He was my favorite in a cast full of amazing actors, and you know, they all do a great job. But he was my favorite part of the movie. Although you know, I love Jamie Lee and I love Kevin Kline and I love John Cleese. So, you know, it's hard to pick, but I enjoyed his performance the most.
Yeah, I mean, and definitely like those four stand out. I mean, the rest of the actors, I'm sure if you knew, a lot of British movies and all that, I think a lot of these were obviously they were all British actors except for Kevin Kline and Jamie Lee. And you had Cynthia Cleese. Cynthia Cleese, I'm sorry. Who played the daughter to John Cleese in the film, but in real life also is his daughter, not plays his daughter. So she was the spoiled Portia. But the other actor, anyone else spot another actor in this film? He came around the end.
I feel like you're testing us, Kris. I wasn't prepared for all these hard questions. Came at the end.
I apologize.
I mean, I'm sure.
Came at the end at the airport. A very young.
Oh, it was Stephen Fry. Yes, I totally. Oh man, at that point, I'm like looking at it. I'm like, that looks like a baby Stephen Fry. And then all of a sudden, he's off screen. I'm like, I'm gonna have to look that up after I watch this, and I totally forgot. You're right. Holy shit.
Yeah, that was like, yeah, he's the one with the
Otto steals his ticket
at the airport.
He kicks him over.
Yep,
and,
Otto steals his ticket. Yep.
Yeah, it's before the confrontation with him and Archie.
Yeah, Archie Leach, by the way. Anyone in that name ring anyone's bells?
Oh, absolutely. Cary Grant?
Cary Grant, yes. That's his name. And John Cleese was a huge fan of Cary Grant.
As everybody should be.
I was going to say, who isn't? Kris.
Agreed. Well, I'm just trying to make, there's a lot of connections with this film with all of our other top 50 that we've seen. I mean, Cary Grant has been in numerous films here. And this is the first film, I think, with any of the Monty Python actors in it, or members, I should say. We have more coming up because, I mean, obviously,
yeah, we have it.
This is a British list, and those are some of the big British comedy groups. So yeah, I know we have Monty Python. I think Life of Brian is on the list. So they're covered. They're covered.
It did feel a little weird. Like it felt very much like a Monty Python movie, and I can't remember if Graham Chapman was dead by this point. Like, I can't remember if he died in like 89 or 88, but, you know, it would have been cool to have most of the gang in this. But at the same time, you know, Cleese was one of the first ones that left Monty Python after the third season, because by that point, he's like, we're rewriting the same skits. We're not doing anything new. I want to go make movies. Yeah. So I could see maybe he didn't want to do something like that, but still, you can take the Monty out of John Cleese, but you can't take the Python out of his penis. I don't know where I was going with that.
I don't know either. Yeah.
No, I just think of John Cleese's penis with that woman's face, the picture over his wiener.
Yeah. 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 This was so John Cleese, as we talked, he was the main writer of this film. He had that one scene. So he wrote most of the parts with certain actors in mind. So he had seen Jamie Lee Curtis in Trading Places, and he wrote Wanda specifically for her, which is kind of cool. Same with Kevin Kline. He had seen Kevin Kline, I forget the film, but they were also in Silverado together in '85. Mm-hmm. And so he wrote that role, Otto, for Kevin Kline. I'm not sure why he didn't have a role yet for the other Python members, but, you know, maybe he knew Michael Palin could pull off the stutter, and since that was the idea that started the film. So let's talk a little bit plot here. Let's talk a little bit plot. So this is A Fish Called Wanda is a dark comedy for sure. A little bit noir going on with bank heist. So you have the four members of the group. Not John Cleese.
Nope.
But you have Otto, Wanda, Ken, and George, who we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
But played by Tom Georgeson was his name. He was fine, but he was barely in it.
We don't care about George.
No, you don't. But George and Ken are friends and very close, and Wanda is dating George, and she brings in her brother, air quotes around brother, Otto, who is ex-CIA.
Super smart.
Air quotes around that, too.
He's super reading smart. Nietzsche when we first are introduced to him.
And they're going to pull off the bank heist to steal, what was it, 40 million?
It's 20 million in diamonds or whatever.
In diamonds. So one interesting thing that I saw from this film, so this film came out 88, and I believe it was like 92, 93, where handguns and most other firearms were banned in Britain. Because there are a lot of guns in this film. Yeah. and I was under the impression, oh, wait, I thought guns weren't allowed in Britain, but it was like 92 or 93 where that happened. So this film kind of slipped under.
The Otto going through security, freaking just definitely pre 9/11, but like throwing his gun through security on the side of the metal detector and catching it and pocketing it. That was such a cool shot.
Yeah.
Is shitty as Otto is, like as a character, he's so good. He's so good.
Yeah. I gotta give that to Kevin Kline, just how he just again, this film is why I would see anything that Kevin Kline was in, even in films I did not really like. I'll still like watch it and go, I really like Kevin Kline in that. Like Wild Wild West or Dave. I'm not a big fan of either one, but I see Kevin Kline in him. I go, I like that Kevin Kline. He's so good. I don't know if you guys have. I'm sure everyone has an actor or actress like that.
Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, it's like anything you see him in, he's good. I don't know, Amy. Do you have anyone like that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Bruce Campbell as well. Or
Come up with an original thought, Amy.
Yeah, no. I just want to be you, Chad.
Nah. Well, we can't all be mean now, can we? But Bruce is fucking great. But yeah, it is weird, like with films that we watch and what kind of sticks to us throughout our lives. Like it could be the dumbest premise ever. Like I went to a screening of The Man with the Screaming Brain. It was in Milwaukee, and it was a dumb movie, but I got to get a signature from Bruce Campbell, and I'll always see stuff that he's in. And Kevin Kline, he's amazing. He's I'll think of Kevin Kline now. Anytime I'll think of him, I'll think of this movie, but anytime I think of him is from Orange County, and he didn't even have like a huge role in that movie at all. But he's such a dominating presence in that movie specifically that I don't know. Kevin Kline's just so energetic, especially in this film. Like the scene where they're juxtaposing him and Wanda having sex, and then John Cleese or freaking Archie and Wendy just going to bed in their separate beds, and freaking Kline comes in. He like jumps in the air and like gymnastic vaults himself onto the bed, and he's speaking his gibberish Italian, and man, you can see why he won an award for this film.
Between that scene and then the first when Archie and Wanda are together in the bungalow or whatever, and you see Kevin Kline peeking into the window behind them, kind of watching them. He definitely has a charisma about him, and I think I know, Amy, just from knowing you as long as I've known you, that you are a huge Bruce Campbell fan. I don't know about Bruce Springsteen, but Bruce Campbell, I know you're a big fan.
She also loves Bruce Valanche.
I do use.
But yeah, I definitely I think with both of the actors, I think there is a certain charisma and screen presence that they have when the camera's on there. I love Bruce Campbell as well. He's not one to go to roles that might bring him Oscars, though. He's not drawn to those roles. He doesn't get those roles. I think Kevin Kline as an actor has gotten some really good roles, and but they both exude that charisma that just draws your eyes to them. I think this film is a perfect showcase for Kevin Kline. So now that we're done with the Kevin Kline Love Fest, I'm sure we'll get back to it later. But so more of the plot. So we meet all the bank robbers, and we have Ken, who loves animals because we're in his apartment and his posters of animals. He's got all these fish, including a fish named Wanda. Not a big surprise given that's the title, but also named after Jamie Lee Curtis's character. So there obviously must be something going on there. Like he likes her, obviously, which she takes advantage of. And then about 20 minutes in the film, the bank robbery's done.
And
like all good heist films, it's done right away.
Well, and it's basically, so once the heist is over, everybody has, been used where they're going to be used. And the plan is to get George arrested. Well,
the plan from Otto and Wanda.
Ken didn't know. But Otto and Wanda call in. They're like, George did it. Go arrest him. George beforehand hid the diamonds in a separate place that Otto and Wanda didn't know about.
Well, no, not even Ken
and
knew
Ken
about
didn't
that.
know about it either until he was told later. But it's basically just a search for, okay, it's in a different place. We found this key. Wanda finds Ken hiding a key that was given to him by George. And they know the key's going to do something. They just have to figure out what. So then Archie comes into play because he's a barrister. He's a lawyer. And he's defending George. So Wanda gets the idea of like, all right, well, I'm good at flirting with men, wink. She's going to kind of flirt her way into a relationship with Archie to get information on where the diamonds could be. And it's, it's a comedy of errors. Otto and Wanda are obviously dating and not brother and sister. And Otto is super jealous and he keeps getting in the way.
No, he's not. He's not.
He's stupid.
He's not jealous. No, he's not. Don't call him stupid.
It's stupido. Wanda actually comes up with like some pretty dope plans, and he keeps just getting in the way because he thinks she's gonna have sex with Archie, which probably. But again, she points out at a certain point in the movie, like, look, it's $20 million. Like, is it really worth to be jealous? If I'm going to fuck one dude for $20 million.
He's not jealous. I'm not jealous.
But as time goes on, Otto keeps thinking that Wanda is falling in love with Archie. Archie's starting to get braver, I guess. And finally, his wife figures out what's going on and she's going to divorce him. So there's a certain point where Archie's like, you know what? Life of crime, I'm in.
Well, he has a line at some point in there that he doesn't have any money. He married his wife and she has all the money. So he has, and he's in a loveless marriage with a spoiled, rotten daughter. And, like he gives the locket to his wife accidentally, the locket that is holding the key. And it's the greatest gift that he's ever given her. So she can't give it up. Even when he brings a much more expensive diamond bracelet or whatever, she can't give it up because it's the best gift ever. And there's so many like little plot lines like that I think
it's a lot of different set pieces. Like a new challenge comes up, after the previous one is solved. It just keeps compounding, the closer and closer they get to trying to get the fucking diamonds, which they end up. Well, Otto takes Ken, interrogates him, eats all his fish in front of him to get him to tell him where the diamonds are.
So while Kevin Kline said he had offered to eat live fish.
Oh, those did not look real.
Those are all Jell-O.
Especially the Wanda fish, you could tell at the end, just like the fake tail out of his mouth. Although I will say, and it takes a lot for me to get a gag reflex. Like it's very specific things on screen to make me vomit, even though I know it's all fake. That the last fish, Wanda, when he was like just like floating it in his mouth in and out and like kind of going back and forth with it, I started going, luckily I didn't, but I definitely had that feeling. So I know a movie is good authentically if it can fake even me out, even though I know it's not real.
And now a break for our sponsors.
Has this ever happened to you?
This video game is bullshit!
Are you tired of gaping plot holes and boring gameplay mechanics?
Look, all I'm saying is that if a full-fledged Krogan is falling off a platform, there's no way Commander Shepard has the upper arm strength to pull him up.
Has reading become just too tedious of a chore?
Ugh. books.
Are you bored of your same 3 murder podcasts?
Shocking. It's The Butler.
Allow me to introduce you to the brand new fan fiction podcast with an X, hosted by our lovely basement-dwelling and real-life Muppet, Dan McCoy.
Well, that's hurtful.
And myself, of course, the blonde bombshell with the blood of Odin and the great looks of Jake Busey from Starship Troopers.
That's accurate.
And with our powers combined.
No.
Oh, you never let me do what I want to do.
I said no, man. We're not doing that.
Fine. Anyway, you can find us on Apple Podcasts wherever you get your fix from. Remember, fan fiction with an X.
Hi, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Mike.
And we are brothers-in-law. We both love beer and are amateur home brewers.
Wait, so does that make us brothers-in-law?
I believe so.
Every episode, we will talk about aspects of beer and home brewing.
But nothing super technical because we're learning this too.
So join us as we sit down together and dive into something beer-related.
Whether it's a little field research, tasting a certain beer style, or beers from a specific brewery.
Talk about our experiences brewing beer at home, including our own solo brews, as well as themed competitions we'll set up along the way.
We will also talk about some of our favorite aspects of brewing, like hops, extra ingredients, building our brew cave, and more. And of course, our own misadventures that have happened along the way.
So, if you like beer, are home brewing already,
or if you have an interest in home brewing and don't know where to start,
join us on Brothers-in-Law Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
And make sure to follow us on Twitter at Brothers-in-Law and check out our website, brothersinlaw.com.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We're back. So did you guys see the version? So the original version, the American version of the film didn't include part of that torture scene. It didn't include the part where the chips were stuffed up the nose.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Reason being?
Just, I think because it...
They're called freedom fries?
Yeah. Well, no one knows what chips are in the United States. So they're like, what? What are they talking about? No. I think just because of the torture that Ken is going through, that it was deemed
America loves torture, Kris. Like, it's our number one import and export. Why were... I'm not blaming you. I'm just, very confused on why that scene out of all of them.
Not on film, though.
Ugh.
I don't know.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, I mean, props to Michael Palin, because that wasn't a stunt nose.
No.
No, it wasn't.
It was definitely fake ketchup, though. I overall, we can finish up the story real quick, but essentially everything happens at Heathrow. Ken lets Archie know where Wanda and Otto are headed, and Ken eventually has a standoff against Otto, who's about to shoot Archie.
Well, he's got two standoffs against him.
I mean, it's not a Mexican standoff because I guess Archie was no threat to. So I don't know, like a New Mexico standoff. But essentially, Otto gets caught monologuing, and Archie keeps goading him to keep doing more because he can see out of the corner of his eye Ken is slowly coming by with one of those cement steamroller. Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
And it's funny just to see Otto go through 5 stages of grief, just trying to plead with Ken not to run him over. Say, you're not gonna do it. I'll give you anything. Okay, I'm sorry. So many different emotions. But Ken finally, because the whole time Otto's been just a dick to him and just being weird with him. And he rolls him over and he loses his stutter. He's like, hey, I've lost my stutter. That's why I think it's the best character turn, because Otto gave him such shit about having that stutter. The fact that he, kills Otto, quote unquote, cures it. I don't know. I think it's sweet for his character. Because he doesn't get any diamonds, that's for damn sure.
No, he just, he just gets thrown in jail for, the crime and for the murder and everything. So, and all his fish are dead. And he's got 3 dogs on his conscience that are dead. Dogs. So yeah. He, not Jamie Lee Curtis and John Cleese's character who fly off with the diamonds.
Rio de Janeiro.
Had the best ending.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Ken had it.
Yeah.
Good old Ken.
The other change that was made was that Otto comes back out of the dead. So originally he was supposed to be, you ran over by a steamroller, you're dead. But in this film, he shows up and is standing outside the plane, outside the very window on the wing. And you have to assume that once he flew off there, he's dead.
Yeah, that's the thing. If he wasn't dead from getting run over by a steamroller, he was definitely dead trying to hang on to a plane taking off.
I mean, yeah, there's no talk about, A Fish Called Wanda 2, so I would assume.
But it's weird, and I didn't know this because, I'd never seen this movie before, but they all got back together and they did another movie with the same cast. Mm-hmm. Was it 97 Fierce Creatures? Is that it? Yeah. Which I'm going to have to watch now because if it's all that same core cast, I don't know if it's going to be as good, but
I would say it's not going to be as good.
Have you seen it?
I've not.
Then how could you say that, Kris?
Have you seen it, Amy?
I haven't seen it.
I think because nobody has seen it, it's on here. Where 2 out of the 3 of us had seen A Fish Called Wanda, and it's not on the list. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just saying it's probably not as good.
Well, fine. I'm just saying it's cool when you work so well with a cast. You work with a cast so well that's like, hey, let's get the band back together and do it again. It might not be as good, but who gives a shit?
The whole concept around like the American Horror series, where it basically, if I'm remembering it correctly, it's basically the same core cast.
Yeah, I've never watched the show before.
They're in each of the series, but they're just different like elements. Amy, is that a show that you've seen?
Yeah, I've seen a couple seasons of it. Yeah, it is a lot of the same cast in each season, and it's doing different roles,
different characters.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could say Christopher Guest's movies, in his troupe, Monty Python, they made a bunch of different movies. So
you mean Mr. Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yeah, no kidding.
So that's another little trivia bit, I guess. When Jamie Lee Curtis was contacted by John Cleese, she thought, oh, he just wants to talk to my husband.
Yeah.
Because Christopher Guest at the time was a bigger name than Jamie Lee Curtis. I think that.
Well, especially in the comedy realm, not that Jamie Lee. Yeah. She proved she could do comedy with Trading Places, but yeah, I could see that happening. I'm like, okay, everybody wants to talk to my funny husband.
So, so I will say, Amy had said this before, the movie holds up. I mean, it's 88. It is 1988 was the year of villains, the main villain of the film being run over by steamrollers. What other film had
Roger Rabbit.
Main villain run over by steamrollers? Roger Rabbit.
I had to think of the year. That's it. Sorry, I should have let you finish. What movie were you going to ask me about?
Yeah, no, Roger Rabbit. You both got it. Anyway.
Well, it's hard not to think of Roger Rabbit with that cartoonish ending, because you don't see that in movies. You see it in cartoons.
Right. Obviously it wasn't time for the steamroller to go over that wet cement. But they get the camera angles out that of Kevin Kline getting run over were well done. Like I thought well positioned.
In general, I mean, comedies aren't really notorious for having good looking cinematography, but there were a couple choices in this that I liked. I think it was Ken who came into the apartment. And it was the first time he came in and Otto was trying to hide in the bathroom. And Jamie Lee kind of like puts on clothes and, makes it look like she just got out of the shower. And the camera keeps switching from left to right, showing Otto to Ken with Jamie Lee, Wanda in the middle. And there's a lot of visual gags that happen there where immediately anything happens, Otto immediately just like pulls his gun out. And she's like, no, put it down. He's like, what? I like to commend films that actually think about what they put in the frame or how they manipulate the frame to enhance the joke, especially in comedy. Because, cinema verite, all that shit, people really only think of it as a high art type thing. But you can throw it into funny movies and do something simple, but, give yourself a completely different outcome than you would have just setting up the camera on a tripod and not doing anything,
And I know John Cleese gives all the credit to this film, the direction, to Charles Crichton. And it's hard to know because obviously Charles Crichton isn't alive anymore. And John Cleese hasn't changed his tune at all as far as how much direction he actually did. So who knows? I mean, that could be Charles Crichton, could be John Cleese, could be a combination of the two to kind of, get those scenes right, get the cameras set and the cinematographer working with that person to make sure that it looks beautiful.
I mean, even if Cleese did direct most of this, like, he obviously has so much respect for this man. Like, he'd be willing to go to the grave with that type of secret. I'm not saying that's what happened, but, sometimes you just do things for other people just out of respect.
Yeah. All right. So Amy, what, looking at this film, what were some, describe your favorite scene, the one scene that you think of when you think of this movie?
It would probably be, which is horrible. It's the torture scene of Ken, because I feel so bad for him, and those are his fish, and he's so upset, and then leading to him running him over with a steamroller because you killed his fish. So those were the highlights for me. As far as, really dark comedy. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was cringy to watch him eat those fish and feel so bad for Michael Palin's character that, I would kill Otto. So.
What I love too is that when that scene starts, Ken is like celebrating because the old woman died. And he gets to collect on the bet.
The £1
from Otto. The £1. So he's celebrating that at first. And then it just turns. And he doesn't get that celebratory mood until he runs him over with a steamroller. Yeah. What about you, Chad? What's the one scene that you think will be what you remember the film?
I'm going to cheat and just say the whole B plot of Ken trying to off the old woman. Like, because there's such short little interludes between the whole story. Because at points you forget that Ken is an actual character doing other things because we're so engrossed with what's going on with our other three principals. But just the fact that he tried to make it look like an accident every time, he just ended up killing these poor animals which he loves so much. So, like I said earlier, he shows up to their fucking funerals with, not only are they burying this dog in a pet cemetery, but there's a vicar, there's 2 choir boys singing, and they pull back to Ken just like struggling with himself. And every time one of these accidents happens, he gets hurt. So the more it compounds, the more he's like looking like he's destroyed physically and mentally. So that's what I'll always remember about this film.
So yeah, John Cleese wrote it with the small dogs because he did not consider them to be real dogs. So he thought people would have less of a problem laughing at them being killed. Because a little bit of you like is hurt as these dogs get killed, and you're
a little bit like totally.
It's so detailed that the choir boys are singing in Latin, translated into English is "Have mercy, Lord, have mercy, Lord, the dog is dead."
It's something I would expect from a John Cleese film.
Yeah, from a John Cleese written film. For me, it would have to be the whole bungalow, like both times in the bungalow. So the first time when they're up on the bed and you see Otto pop up behind the window. And then that's where you have the scene of John Cleese being held upside down outside the window to apologize for calling Kevin Kline's character stupid. And then, of course, the photo over John Cleese's junk scene was pretty good, too. Just seeing the family there and the shock of them as they're trying to figure out what's going on. So... a film that absolutely belongs on this list. I cannot disagree. I know we've had some lately, Chad, where we're like, hey, should it be on here? But this film absolutely is on this list. 36? I don't know. We'll see. But definitely on this list. Amy, is this one? I mean, you said you're going to get it.
Yeah.
So it's going to join it. So does that make it one of the top comedies or comedies in your book?
Well, I mean, it is. And, having not seen it in 30 years, it was nice to revisit it. But, I don't own too many comedies. So it seems like that one it should be in the collection because it has rewatchability. I can watch that again. Now that I've seen it again after so long, I could watch it next year and, probably find something else funny about it or just like the characters' performances more or
but not like the characters.
No.
They're all terrible people.
They really are. And you can't even decide who's the worst out of all of them. I mean, Ken's okay, even though he does horrible things, but
yeah,
who's the most manipulative? Can't even say it. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Who's the worst out of the 3 actual robbers or con men, con women, whatever you want to call them?
It'd be interesting to see because George seems like the most feared, but Otto's the worst, right? Like.
Yeah, he's pretty horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wanda's character, she just knows what she wants and she doesn't care how she gets it. But you know what? She's still probably living in Rio.
Yeah.
With a barrister.
Yep.
So. All right, Chad, what do you think? Do you think this is one that deserves to be on the list?
Biased. Yes, from me, only because of the lineage behind it. And, again, the fact that I hadn't watched this before is criminal to me personally. So, I definitely go on a limb and say it's definitely at least worth being 36 on this list, if not lower, but depends on what we see coming up.
speaking of, good
you saw my little pivot there. I'm glad you picked that up.
I got that.
Here you go. Here's the basketball.
Yeah, thank you. Swish. That was long range. So number 35, and I have never seen this.
I didn't know this was a comedy.
Yeah, I didn't know it was either. Amy, have you seen the film Singin' in the Rain?
I have not.
The 1952 Stanley Donen and Gene Kelly. It apparently is a comedy.
In high school, I
did not know that.
Neither did I.
I signed up to be in this musical, but I had to drop out because I was wrestling and I couldn't do both. So I never got to see the show. Probably should have stuck with it.
Well, you made your choice. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think everyone has seen this song being sung by Gene Kelly and dancing, or is it Gene Kelly?
It's
or
Gene
Fred
Kelly
Astaire that does it. Gene Kelly, I thought so, because he's one of the directors. It would make much more sense in bringing somebody else in to do that. But I have no idea what it's about. But it'll be interesting to see it.
The forecast calls for rain.
And singing about it. All right. So, Amy, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. Anything you want to promote? Any other podcasts that you do, or just life in general?
No, I'm good. I occasionally guest on yours, and that's about it. So,
all right.
Podcasting has slowed down for me.
Well, we love to have you on. Yeah, and you're one of the people from from my former podcast Mania, that I bring on here. So I love hearing your opinion on things. So you will hear Amy again, not only for this list, but for our Essentials list as well. She'll be joining us for one of those that are upcoming that you'll learn about later. But thank you again. Chad, any final thoughts?
We're working on a film currently in LA right now that we're shooting.
Oh, tell us a little bit about that.
It's a horror movie. Working title's called Demon Detective. It's about a detective who hunts demons. Don't know if I spoiled too much for you. But anyways, yeah, we'll be getting into post pretty soon, and hopefully we can have it finished by the end of the year and get it out so your eyeballs can see it, and then you can tell me how much you hate it.
Or love
Sorry,
it.
I shouldn't be pessimistic. There's a lot of cool people working on this, and it'll be good. It's just, I'm always nervous that you guys are going to hate it.
Well, I am stoked about some of the names that you have.
We got Adrienne Barbeau. I don't know if you've ever heard of that person.
I know Amy has.
Yes, I am a big.
And Doug Jones. So
excellent.
We're even if the movie's bad, we still got stars in it. So somebody will watch it. But yeah, that's all that's going on in my world right now.
Well, that's very exciting, and hopefully we'll be talking about that more. Maybe on the Essential series we'll break that one down. Probably not, because we have a rule like 1970 is like the cut.
Fine.
So my final thought is that Lord loves a working man. Don't trust Whitey. See a doctor and get rid of it. Thank you, everybody.
Could be one of those back alley doctors. Just
could be.
Thank you again for listening to the Film Illogical Society. If you'd like to listen to similar podcasts, please check out 6.5 Media on Stitcher, iTunes, and Facebook. Or check out Redacted Media on Facebook or YouTube.